Okay, we're going to have a quick look at rendering. So I'm going to change from my model environment back to my render environment again. Now, there's a few things with rendering that you'll see. You've got what's called a render gallery down the bottom that you can open and close, but that basically, although it shows you some of the renders that are done automatically, you can create your own. And when you're not needing to use it, or when you want to see the screen more, you can basically minimize this one down to have a bigger view here. Okay, there's two ways of rendering basically. If you click the render button here, it opens up a little box, and you've got the opportunity to either do what's called a cloud render or a local render. If you choose a cloud render, what happens is with a cloud render, and presumably you're going to go for final quality, you basically, when you hit the button, whatever it shows on the screen here will be sent up to the cloud, and it will be basically rendered on a server, probably in America, but one that's owned by Autodesk. When that render is complete, it'll show up down here in your render gallery, and usually they send you an email to say that it's ready as well. But that can take, sometimes it can take 10 minutes, sometimes it can take 2 hours. It all depends how busy their servers are. Local renderer, if you choose local render, you've got the quality here of different qualities. You would obviously go for excellent or final when you do that. Local render uses the computer's own processing power, so the better the computer, the better the video card in the computer, the better the quality of the image that you get. Basically, when you hit the render button here, you'll see whatever's on the screen will start to appear down in a little window down here. So I'll hit the render button there to get it started, and you'll see this clock timer ticking away, and I'll cut back to that in a moment. But basically, when this is done, you can click on the picture. This is one I did earlier. Double click on that one, and it will open up that render gallery window, slightly different looking window this time, and it gives you some options. One of the options you can do is you can download. So if you hit the download, it gives you the option of putting that straight onto your desktop or wherever you want, giving it a name. Okay, and you can save it straight to you. Now I've already done one of those, so I'll show you what that looks like. If I open it up, this is an in-canvas render, so this is the kind of quality that it comes out looking like. So it's got a transparent PNG background. You can put that straight into your publisher portfolio or something to display off what you're doing. Now you might find that if you do a cloud render, you might get a better quality. You might not. This is one I did. This is a cloud rendered version of the other one that I had a look at. So it's really your choice. Now the other way, other than clicking this render button here, so this one now is rendering at the moment. I've minimized my render gallery to give myself a bit more space on the screen, and I've clicked this one here, in canvas render, and it's basically saying if I want to stop it I can click it again. But you can see the progress it's making here. When it gets to the final quality and it's finished rendering, I'm going to click on this image to capture it, and you'll see the difference between that and the render gallery. Okay, as you can see from the screen now, basically we finished the render in the local renderer, and it took nearly sort of 3.5 minutes to get to that level. Now it depends how good your computer is. The faster the processor, the faster the render. What I want to do now is I want to come up here and capture the image. So I click up here. It gives me various things. I can't change too much on there. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to say basically you can store it onto your local computer. So I'm going to save to my computer onto my desktop, and I'm going to call this one version 5 and hit save. Now you can't see because it's just off screen, but if I open it up by double clicking on it and opening it with my software, that's the local rendered version. The other thing that can affect what your renders look like is to do with the lighting that is being put into them. So if we come to this one, in fact before I do that I'm going to just close my render gallery to give me a bit more room and get this a bit bigger. I'm going to come to this one that looks like a light, and I'm going to click on there. Now this one allows me to make lots of changes to what it looks like, so I would actually probably do this before I did the rendering. And you've got two options initially. You can either have a solid background colour, or you can choose what's called an environment. If you choose an environment, you can go to the environment library and you can change and have different views. So depend upon the kind of lighting you want to use and things like that, you get different effects. So you can see how these change. that one's made it much brighter, and so on. So you can play around with those. There's even some extra ones that you can download yourself. So if you hit the download button, it will download these extra environments and you can see what they look like. I'm going to go back to my normal one. I'm going to go back to solid color, but I'm going to change my solid color. Instead of having it as a black, as a gray, I'm going to change it to a kind of white color and apply that. Now that looks a bit intense, but some other things you can play with. You can play with the brightness. Okay, so the brightness controls how much kind of light is thrown at it. The other one you can play around with sometimes is this one to do with position. If you click on the position, you get this sliding scale, and this shows the rotation of the light. Okay, so where the kind of light's hitting your object from. Now obviously you can still change the angle of your object itself by moving it using your mouse, and you can use this combination of things to try and get the light in just the way that you want it and get the level of brightness just the way you want it. And when you're happy with those things, that's when you would do your render.